things. But to come out for Stefanski to say, it's on me, my bad, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And we're beyond Stefanski, because you have to understand, if you have ever had a job, whether it was at Wendy's or in a C-suite somewhere, you know you have to be responsible to people. And the people that Stefanski are responsible to are the reason the Browns lost today. Does that absolve Stefanski from being the executioner? No. He's an accomplice. I told you crimes were being committed in Berea. And you should see that today. But the fans got cheated out of competitive sports. Something when they bought their ticket, that's what they were buying. They never signed up for the game to be rigged or WWE or to be fake, or for Stefanski to manipulate player personnel or possibly bribe or possibly gamble. Vegas had the Browns winning, and now you see why. Vegas had the Browns winning, and the game was rigged for the Browns to lose. And they're not tanking for the first pick in the draft. They didn't want to go to the playoffs with Shedeur. This is why they talked about everything this week, but the what if scenarios for the playoffs, they weren't excited about it. They wanted to say Shedeur needs more time. They never had one conversation. What if the Browns go to the playoffs? Who will we play next? They never had any excitement. They all agreed not to discuss it. But as soon as the game was over, they let you know. Now you know why Kevin Stefanski was relieved last week when they lost to the 49ers and that game was rigged too. So there's 3 games Shedeur could have won. We already know through this game that Shedeur should have been drafted number 2 overall in the first round to somebody. And if Cleveland didn't want to draft Shedeur, they should have traded that pick so another team could. But no, they decided to hurt Shedeur. They decided to rob him of $46 million. And they holding Deshaun hostage. While everybody's fantasizing about Mendoza, how you going to pay Mendoza and $46 million Deshaun? Oh, you're going to let the insurance company pick up his salary again next year like you did this year because you had him sacked excessively so he could get hurt? Fraud. When I say racketeering, fraud. And if players for the Cleveland Guardians are being indicted for being paid to lose, it's time to investigate the Browns, whether the players or Stefanski is being paid to lose games. Because do not forget, Brian Flores has a lawsuit right now moving through the courts. And guess what one of the allegations is? He was incentivized to lose. And that was with the Miami Dolphins. But former head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Hugh Jackson, reported he was incentivized to lose. Kevin Stefanski is one of the lowest paid coaches at $3.5 million a year. For reference, Mike Tomlin is at $18 million a year. Is he living above his means? Is he gambling? Is he racist? Or both? Is he being told to fix and throw games by the owners of the Browns? Are they gambling? Did they stand to make a big windfall by throwing the game that Vegas said the Browns would win? It's time to look at the nefarious activity of head coach Kevin Stefanski and ask, who told you to do it? Who's protected Kevin Stefanski? Does that sound familiar? Because I asked it last week. Reallocate everything, time, money. Follow the Panthers fan base. Let it sit empty. That's what you need to do. You want things to be different, then you have to move differently. You have to be different to get different results. So when you look right here, Shedeur's already in good company, but I think this is a definition. Let's see right here. So we have ESPN's total QBR rating. So they'll calculate his QBR rating. That's from 0 to 100. At one point, Shedeur's passer rating, which is explained here, was at 120 something. And it's a scale of 0 to 150 something, right? So when the game ended, he was still a 97. As you can see here, the passer ratings that fall anywhere between 70 to 90 could actually be considered elite. QBRs, high QBRs are considered elite. Tonight, Shedeur named in the same sentence Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, people who have been to the Super Bowl, Tom Brady. You're not going to tell me at Shedeur play, you didn't see a player that if he started the season, you wouldn't be in great playoff position. The Browns need to be forced to explain why they rigged tonight's game with personnel and play calling. Why they did everything in their power to lose that game. Are they bribing other players? Are they paying players to take dives? When Jerry Jeudy scored a touchdown, how long before you saw him again in the game? Because he was out. They took him out. I wonder why. Because he's celebrating with Shedeur. Everybody that gravitates towards Shedeur gets retaliated against. Everybody. So the word is reallocate. People need to know specifically what the instructions and the directions are. Reallocate. Before you spend 1 red cent, reallocate. So I love this picture of Cam and Shedeur, right? Two buddies. Before, when they were in Vegas, Cam was talking that cash money trash. Shedeur is the better quarterback between the two. Shedeur is a damn miracle worker, if you ask me, because they held Shedeur back, I know, through the first 3 drives, maybe somewhere midway through the second quarter, and you could see a switch. And when we were live, I asked the question, I was posting and reposting that people were asking, do y'all not have any other plays other than run, pass? Because it was predictable. And it's like Kevin Stefanski got a call, hey, they on to us. And he stood up and let Shedeur start throwing. And then Shedeur threw 2 touchdowns, and then none of the receivers and people, they couldn't hold on to the ball. And none of the O-linemen could block. So they were basically boxing out Shedeur from being able to do anything. So he had to go run and get it himself. And when that didn't work, we 2 Wildcats in. So you use a Wildcat in 2 opportunities so Shedeur himself cannot get it done. So you're robbing the quarterback of the ability to score intentionally. So, like I said when the game started, Kevin Stefanski is once again sabotaging his own quarterback. It's time for an investigation into gambling and racketeering. Understand that. Corruption. We already know the racism is there. We already went through that in the summer. And as hard as Kevin Stefanski worked to keep Shedeur from getting to QB1, he's working equally as hard to sabotage him once he gets in the game. And I talked about this. I said, I'm taking a wait and see approach after we saw Coach Prime and Berea. We were happy to see him. We saw Stefanski grinning like a Cheshire cat. And I said, pump the brakes on that. I said, because he'll go right out here and stab Shedeur right in his back. And that's what he did. And he already had his lie together. And one reporter put Stefanski on the spot and asked him about the Wildcats, and he didn't want to answer the question. And he couldn't even say Wildcat twice because it's stupid. He's rigging the games. Who's going to hold Kevin Stefanski accountable? That's the question of the hour. Kevin Stefanski should have been fired already. Who's going to hold him accountable? And when I say accountable, I mean who's going to fire Kevin Stefanski? Who's going to be the reason Haslam is forced to fire Kevin Stefanski? Who's going to be the reason that maybe Jasmine Crockett can ask Haslam, why did you allow your head coach to demean, belittle, dehumanize, dismiss, discriminate against such a talented player that was entrusted to him for development and growth? Why didn't you stop it? Because it's been going on since the spring. Why didn't you investigate any nefarious gambling activities or coercion or intimidation? What about the people who were fired after as they gravitated towards Shedeur? Why didn't Shedeur, who won the competition, get the reward for being the QB1 or the QB2? Why hasn't Kevin Stefanski been held accountable for excessive injuries, excessive sacks? Why hasn't Kevin Stefanski been held accountable for faulty personnel decisions that render aid to losing a game? Why isn't Kevin Stefanski being held accountable for having a second string $5 million right tackle who is good at pass protection, but Stefanski was allowed to bypass the talent and go to a struggling veteran minimum third string player who is not good at pass protection? So you had the option to win, and you chose the option that put you closer, that could render aid to help you lose. And were they feeling coerced because you're their boss and they want to keep their job because they watched Tony Brown be retaliated against, because they watched Jerry Jeudy score a touchdown and brotherhood kneel and embrace Shedeur Sanders, and then they took him out the game because this same player who is desperate to want to stay on the team watched as Wyatt Teller was unjustly benched and they lied about him having injuries? Why was Kevin Stefanski allowed to be so egregious in his actions unchecked? There's a host of questions that I would like Jasmine Crockett to ask. And I know some people believe that's never going to happen. Okay. The way things are today, they may not be tomorrow. And I also said before this game, things are going to get worse. And I'm going to say it again. They're going to get worse to the point where they're trying to get Shedeur injured. When I say there's something sinister going on in Cleveland, they know they're getting ready to play the Bears, a tougher team. But if Shedeur begins to excel, watch what happens. They waited to the end of the season to let him play. They didn't want to trade him twice. They don't want him. They don't value him. They keep taking him out of the game when he's a difference maker, which signals that they want to lose and not win with him because we don't want you. We don't value you. This is the same racial discrimination that was used against Marlon Briscoe in 1968. Hello.